Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I'm Vinit Nair with my co host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, sport, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing.
And we're back for episode number 33 of Are You Quizzing Me? At the outset, let me first thank our guest quizmaster of last week, the redoubtable Mr. HK, for graciously filling in while I was away. And he did a fantastic job, if I do say so myself. And now for today's episode, I am back with Aditya in our regular programming, in our regular format. So, as usual, let me start off with an audience question, something I'll ask right now, and the answer of which I will reveal at the end of the episode, right? Which will be followed by Aditya's usual, let's say, question. The audience question for today is as follows. Mark Twain wrote about X. It is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. Identify X. Let me repeat the question. Mark Twain wrote about X. It is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. Identify X. That was the audience question for today. Aditya, please put us out of our misery. What was your question for last week, and what is the quote unquote answer to that?
So, the question that I asked last week was to do with the movie The Pursuit of Happiness and how in that movie happiness is misspelled intentionally because the makers had some rationale behind it. So, I asked which Hindi movie has been misspelled or has a different spelling and what was the intention behind it, which Bollywood film. And the answer was obviously right there. This is something we have actually done in the past. We have referred to this movie in the past. There was a question in many episodes ago about the movie Cars and how it is based off the movie The Reincarnation of Peter Proud. Did you know Cars also has a remake called Cars, which has like four Z's at the end of it? And I believe that was a very intentional, a very self-aware kind of misspelling because that movie was a snooze fest, and that is why they put four Z's at the end of Cars. I salute the makers who were that self-aware.
Yeah, I think that was an own goal, rather than an intentional something intentional on the part of the makers. So let's start off with the proceedings for today. I'll start off with a question. This is a fairly easy question if you know what this is about. If not, it may surprise you, right? The Chicago World's Fair was an expo that spanned from May 1933 to October 1934. It showcased a lot of things, a lot of new inventions and new things, and a vision of the future from around the world. Among its offerings existed a very strange exhibition created and run by one Dr. Martin Cooney because he wasn't allowed to run it in his workplace. The exhibition comprised of 58 specimens kept in glass enclosures and for which Coney charged 25 cents for whoever wanted to view them. The exhibition left people in awe, and later most such future specimens would be thankful to him on its success. Such enclosures that as he used later received a warm welcome in his workplace and other places like it thereafter. It's a two-part question. Who or what were these specimens? And what is Martin Cooney credited with introducing in his profession?
Just to clarify, Martin Cooney's profession you did not mention, right? So
I
far,
mentioned that he is Dr. Martin Cooney,
right?
but I would say that with a grain of salt.
Oh, interesting. Okay. My instinct when as soon as you said doctor was for some reason conjoined twins.
Oh, you're very close. You're closer than you think, actually, with conjoined twins. Not exactly conjoined twins, but you are somewhere in the ballpark, let's say.
Is it Siamese twins?
No, they're technically the same thing. Siamese twins are a derogatory way of saying conjoined twins. At least now it's derogatory. It was initially known as Siamese twins because of some famous conjoined twins from erstwhile Siam. Uh, but no, but you are close. You are close.
Okay. So it's not. That's why I asked Sam. He's like, it's not a matter of technicality. It is not conjoined, but it is something close. Okay. No, you said mentioned that if you don't know this, this will be an interesting factoid. So right now I'm very much in the dark here. So yeah, give me a clue or something, perhaps.
Okay. This is, I would say, a common practice, almost a 100% common practice in all major, let's say, hospitals around the world. Now,
Sounds very much like sanitizing or disinfecting your hands, but I know that is
no,
not
no, no.
where
You're
this
you're
comes
you're
from.
going a little cold. I would
Hmm.
suggest you think back a little bit on what your initial thought was and move away from the extreme to something a little more common.
So then I'm thinking twins or triplets or something like that.
Yes, they would fall in this in many conditions. In many times, most of the twins and triplets would fall under this condition. But let's say this, they need not be twins or triplets.
Oh, okay. Is it premature babies?
Yes. Okay. So premature babies. That's the first part of the answer. Those were the specimens that people were viewing.
Right.
So what was he introducing into his profession?
Is it that NICU thing where
I will give it to you. It's the incubator.
incubator, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the specimens, the 58 specimens he kept in his exhibition were all babies, preterm babies. And this is the story of the origin of the incubator. So these premature babies lived in Cooney's incubators as exhibits. And through this, he demonstrated how incubators could be used to save lives. So the infants had been born many weeks premature and well below a healthy birth weight, which is why I said, that conjoined twins or twins and triplets, because many times they are born slightly prematurely or don't have healthy birth weight. Stores didn't make clothes small enough to fit their tiny skeletal frames. So the nurses dressed them up in dolls' clothes and knitted bonnets. A sign above the entrance read, "Living babies in incubators," in letters so large they could be read from the other end of the Chicago World's Fairgrounds, which took place over 18 months in 1933 and 34. The infant incubator exhibit was built at a cost of $75,000, worth $1.4 million today, and was painted in a patriotic red, white, and blue. Martin Cooney himself is a very interesting character. His story, I think, I can reserve for another episode another day because it's quite a long story. And as I said, calling him Dr. Martin Cooney might be a bit of a stretch.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was a fantastic little piece of trivia. I loved it. It leads me to an easy segue to my next question also, which has to do with another famous American who loved to show and show off his talents.
Okay.
And this is related to an opening of an iconic landmark in New York, which happened in the May of 1983. In May of 1883. So
Okay.
this landmark in New York was opened in May of 1883. It had been under
Okay.
construction for 13 years, and its
Okay.
unveiling was a highly anticipated event.
Okay.
The person in question, X, loved PR opportunities, and
Uh,
he wanted to offer a novel way to show the safety of this particular landmark. Initially, it was rejected, his proposal was rejected, but eventually, when there were some concerns about the safety of this particular landmark, his
uh.
proposal got the green light. So the question is, what landmark in New York? Who is this person X? And if you can guess, what was it that he proposed to convey the safety of this landmark?
Okay, let me see if I can get the landmark first. You said it's 1883 in May.
Right.
Are we talking about the Brooklyn Bridge? No.
Vineet, nothing slows you down, does it? Late hour of the
No, no,
night
no.
and sleeplessness and work exhaustion, nothing slows you down. It is Brooklyn
It
Bridge, you're right.
it is the Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, so okay, fair. I have to give it to the only reason I know this is because of a rom com I watched a very long time ago.
Wow, okay. Which rom-com is this?
It starred Meg Ryan and Hugh Jackman, where
Okay.
Hugh Jackman's this character who time travels from 1883 in the past during the inauguration of the Brooklyn Bridge to the present day, and he keeps using the term erection to mention the bridge. It's a magnificent erection.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see why that has stuck with you. That is
Yeah.
something that would stick with you, yeah.
Yes. So that's the thing. I cannot think of who it would be. Okay, so when you say he's a showman, you said like he's like is he like a showman?
That that should lead you right to the answer.
So we're talking about P.T. Barnum.
Absolutely, yes. X is P.T.
Okay.
Barnum. The person in question is P.T. Barnum.
So if it's P.T. Barnum X, what did he do? Did he put elephants on the bridge or something to show that it's safe?
And we have three on three right there without breaking a sweat. Yes, that is absolutely correct. It was the Brooklyn Bridge, which opened in May of 1883. It had been under construction for 13 years, was a very highly anticipated event. P.T. Barnum offered to show off the safety of the bridge by walking his troop of elephants across it. His proposal was rejected, but in 1884, there was an unfortunate incident where a woman fell and there was a stampede, 12 people died, and thus the general population was a bit concerned about a collapse happening. That's when Barnum's proposal was brought back to life, and to the amazement of New Yorkers who happened to catch the sight, there were 21 elephants, 7 camels, and 10 dromedaries, which is basically furry camels,
Mhm.
trekking from the bottom of Coldant Street across the illuminated arches of the bridge, with Barnum's celebrated 7-ton African elephant jumbo bringing up the rear. And that was a spectacle to behold. It was also the subject of a June 2004 New Yorker cover, and that is where I encountered this first. So, an interesting little piece of trivia with a person who has a lot of other trivia associated with him. So, I will dedicate a mini episode to P.T. Barnum at some point. But yes,
So
this is.
your description wanted. Hearing your description, I really wanted to ask you the question. Was there a song being sung in the background saying "Prince Ali, mighty is he, Ali Abab"?
I wouldn't put it past P.T. Barnum to have a customized song for that occasion. Also, the man was quite the
Yeah.
showman.
Yes. No, for a second, I was thinking. My mind went to either P.T. Barnum or Edison, but then I was like, I'm not so
Hmm.
sure Edison fit because there's interestingly a piece of trivia regarding Edison and an elephant, if I'm not mistaken. It's to do with the current wars between Edison and Tesla. So I
Okay.
believe he used AC current to kill an elephant or something like that. Again, this is just
Oh,
it's a weird
I
trivia.
think it was a smaller animal. I believe it was a rabbit or something like that.
Okay, I'm
And
not
he
sure.
was.
We'll have to fact check that. It might just
We
be my
shall
brain
fact
is
check that.
playing, yeah, tricks on me. Okay, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I don't know why I said opposite direction. This is in no way, shape, or form related to direction. Okay, I'm just going to give you a random list of things. These are non-exhaustive. You just have to tell me where specifically would you find these.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, the recording of brainwaves of one Anne Druyan, the image of a woman in a store, spoken greetings in 55 modern and ancient languages, a photo of Jupiter with its diameter indicated, sounds of whale songs, sound of a baby crying, image of a group of children. As I said, this is not an exhaustive list. There are a total of maybe 115, different items. I've just read out a few.
This is on Voyager 1, right?
Oh, snap, crackle, pop. That was fast. Yes, the Voyager Golden Record, both Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. These
All right.
are the
Good.
contents. These are a few of the contents of the Voyager Golden Record.
Hmm.
That was very fast. Do you want to go ahead and tell people what what this is?
I believe Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are the furthest human made objects from Earth at this point of time. The
Yes,
furthest no, not a satellite.
they're
What do
probes.
you
They're
call it?
probe,
Probes,
interstellar
yes,
probes.
sorry.
Currently they're interstellar because they've crossed the solar system. So now they're currently interstellar probes.
They have. And yeah, it's something very exciting. I think every time I remember when Perseverance was landing on Mars or Chandrayaan landing on Moon recently. It's just to imagine the scale of things and somebody being able to land a probe or a rover at a specific point on a different planet. it's just insane. Just I can't even wrap my head around how human beings have this level of ingenuity, but they do, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And when we say that, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and before that Pioneer 10, these are probes which are so far away from Earth, it's very difficult to get an idea of scale, right?
Mm,
So I remember seeing this video on YouTube of this guy who uses the graphics to enlighten us on these things. So one particular graphic that he showed really stuck with me. So the graphic is this: just to understand the scale of our galaxy and our solar system. If the Milky Way galaxy, okay, if the Milky Way galaxy were as wide as the continental United States, the entire solar system would fit into the ridges of a fingerprint of a man standing in the United States.
jeez. It's funny how, and if I'm assuming this is an accurate description, because when you said that initially, I was like, I think I've encountered this. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, you're going to say it is a block in New York or something. And then you said it is the ridge of a fingerprint of a person standing in the continental United States. And sometimes you really don't realize the scale and magnitude of things.
Yes,
That is
yes, it's just
insane.
it's very difficult. It's like that other description people say, like, people have this idea about millionaires and billionaires, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, again, we'll have to just confirm this, but I'm fairly sure this is right. A million seconds, okay, a
Hmm.
million seconds, considering $1 for each second, a million seconds is 11 days.
Hmm.
A billion seconds is 31 years.
Yeah. I think that is 31 or 32 years. Yeah. That is
Yeah.
just, it is ridiculous. And to compare a billionaire to a millionaire also seems funny after that,
Yeah,
because
after
that is
that,
not in
exactly.
the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I love that question. That is a very fun question. Yes, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, one of the iconic moments of humanity as a race. And
Yeah.
that's also a great segue for me to my next question.
Okay.
So, in the sky above us, Vineet,
Hmm.
the brightest object is the sun. The second
Hmm.
brightest object is the moon. What
Okay.
is the third brightest object?
The International Space Station?
I think tonight is going to be a quick breeze. Yes, it is the International Space Station, which is, I was very surprised to learn this fact. It is brighter than all of the other planets. It is brighter than the brightest of stars. It is the brightest object in our night sky, after the moon, obviously. And if you talk about the sky in general, then after the sun and the moon.
My reflex answer was going to be serious, but then I was like, no way he's going to ask me about serious. It has to be something else. And I was like, yes, I remember this video I saw about this guy tracking the International Space Station at night using a telescope, and it just looks like this, bright dot in the sky that's passing by.
It is brilliant. And NASA has created actually a pretty user friendly service. It's called Spot the Station, and you
Okay,
can do just that. You can just spot the station with automated notifications for when it might be above you. And beginner astronomers use that very often to spot the ISS in the night sky.
nice question. I'm going to go to something a little fun. This is just a piece of trivia. It's just a fun piece of trivia. Yeah, nothing too much to think. It's a silly answer, but still. It's regarding my one of my favorite topics, history, of course. The Dutch royal family went into exile when the Netherlands were occupied by Nazi Germany in 1940, and they went to live in Canada. During this period, Princess Margriet Francisca of the Netherlands, born 19th January 1943, was born in the Ottawa Civic Hospital, Ottawa. I hope I'm pronouncing Ottawa right. To ensure the child would be eligible to succeed to the throne of the Netherlands, they had to ensure she would not be a Canadian citizen. How did they manage that?
Very interesting. I have absolutely no clue, so I'm just gonna, whatever guesses I make are gonna be
No,
completely.
seriously. I mean, like, your wildest guesses might be true with this answer, with this question.
Be really cool if Canada seceded that one maternity room for a day to Netherlands.
Not exactly, but you're close. You're very close.
They brought in some Dutch soil and they placed it under the
No,
bed.
no. Technically, that doesn't work either. It's very simple. It's very simple. You're almost 90% at the answer. So It's just that this tiny technicality I'm just holding you to.
I would imagine it could also do something with the embassy being involved, but then you said it was at the hospital,
It was at the civic hospital, yes.
right? Yeah, no, I can't think of anything crazier than that.
Okay. I
I
mean,
don't
like
know what else could be
you
there.
actually have got the answer quite. You're just a little tiny bit away. So
Okay.
let me just give you a small crash course on the rules of citizenship. Right.
Ah,
So
okay.
a
Hit me.
British citizen subject is under the rule of jus soli. Okay. So jus soli means if you're born there, you become a citizen.
Okay.
So if she was born in Canada, she would have become a British subject. Okay. But the according to the rules of the Dutch, for Princess Marguerite to be able to inherit Dutch citizenship, it has to be under the principle of jus sanguinis,
Blood.
which
Right.
is by blood, which is by blood. So
Yeah.
she has to inherit it from her mother. Now the problem is because Canada is a country which follows jus soli, by the very definition of being born there, she would automatically become a British subject. So for to ensure that she would have a claim to the throne after the war is over, the maternity ward of the hospital was temporarily declared to be extraterritorial by the Canadian government. This ensured that the newborn would not be born in Canada and not be a British subject under the rule of jus soli. Instead, the Dutch child would only inherit Dutch citizenship from her mother under the principle of jus sanguinis, which is followed in Dutch nationality law.
Brilliant. I love that. When was this, by the way? Which year was this?
This is 1943.
Okay. What was the status of Canada at that point?
Canada, no, Canada was a British. What do you call it? I think it's called a dominion.
It is a dominion now. So was it even then a dominion?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
Canada, Australia. They were because we were also looking. If I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of discussion going on at the time whether India wanted to be a completely free nation or whether we wanted to continue as a dominion,
Hmm,
or
hmm,
not
hmm.
continue as a dominion, but whether we wanted to become a dominion where we would rule ourselves, but still, you know,
Be part of the crown. Yeah, we'd be part of the
yes,
crown. Right. And very interesting. Very just declare it part of not being part of Canada for a brief while. I love that. I love the fact that there would have been like at least 10 other babies being born at the time who are suddenly refugees now. Or they're like, what are we supposed to be now? What happens to us? Just for this
true, true.
little Dutch royalty, we lose our. Love that. Okay, great question. So we were in Canada, and let's fly across the ocean to Japan. And Japan Airlines recently launched a program where it gave overseas travelers an option which would reduce the amount of luggage that they would have to bring on trips.
Okay.
Can you tell me what this program is that is going on right now and is supposed to end at the end of this month, at the end of August? What is this program that Japan Airlines recently launched?
That would reduce the amount of luggage being carried.
Mhm.
Okay, I have okay. Nothing's coming off the top of my head. Knowing the Japanese, this is nothing to do with Marie Kondo or something like nothing to do with organization or something like that.
No, no, nothing like that.
The program to reduce luggage, and it's only for a restricted amount of time.
It is a pilot program. They were testing it out, and it's going to end at the end of this month, at the end of August.
Okay, nothing's clicking. I'll need a clue.
I'll give you the name. Anywhere, anywhere.
Okay, it's something to do with clothes that they provide clothes.
Y-
Wait. The airline provides you clothes to wear in Japan.
I love this. I love it. It's so random. It is so. I can only think of Japan Airlines coming up with this for some reason. So anywhere spelled WEAR where, comma
Mm.
anywhere is the name of the program. It is a clothing rental service for travelers who travel to Japan with Japan Airlines. It is meant to eliminate the need to pack, drag, or laundry and reduce carbon footprint. And the idea is that they can make a reservation 1 month prior to the rental date. You can rent a bunch of clothes that you will wear in Japan when you travel there, so you don't have to carry your own clothes. And it is just it does not feel like something that would happen in the real world. It feels like something somebody would come up with in a surrealist sort of fiction. But yeah, this is something Japan Airlines recently implemented and tried out. It is till August 31st that this service is being run.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, it doesn't seem weird when you say it's Japan. Like any other country, I would have been like, yeah, this is weird. But no, not Japan. Not Japan.
Somehow not Japan, yeah.
That gives me a segue into my question. The world's longest domestic flight ever traversed a distance of 15,715 kilometers and took 15 hours and 45 minutes to complete. Can you give me the funda to put it in Indian quizzing terms? The longest domestic flight traversed a distance of 15,715 kilometers and took 15 hours and 45 minutes to complete. And can you give me the funda?
Uh, Firstly, I love the word funda here because it is such a classic Indian cuisine thing. Give funda. I love it.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent of quizzing days. Okay. Mm, 15 hours seems just shy of doing a whole trip around the earth. Just as a clue, I'm going to ask, did it fly over the poles by any chance?
No.
Did it do a whole
Not a
circle
whole,
of the earth?
almost. Maybe like three-fourths of the way.
Sounds like an almost kind of
Two-thirds.
situation.
Not three-fourths. Two-thirds of the way. I'll just give you a clue. This happened in March of 2020.
March of 2020, something to do with COVID. Russia comes to mind.
Okay, I'll give you the destination, not the origin. I'll give you the destination. That should give you a clue. Paris.
Paris. So then, is it one of the French overseas colonies that they flew from?
Yes.
Which one would it be then?
But as I said, this never happened before March 2020.
Yeah, that is also curious. Why would it have been the first time that happened only? Or maybe there was no reason because there was not enough of a traffic, so they would always do a layover. But because it was COVID, they wanted to ensure that they didn't land at any other.
No, you've got the major points. You've got the major points. You've got French overseas. Can you specifically mention which one? I mean, they can just which one of the French overseas colonies we would be talking about? Can you guess? I'll still give it to you, but I just want to see if you can get it.
Is it French Guiana by any chance?
Too close.
French
Not enough for
Guiana would be
15,000.
not enough for
Not enough for
15,000.
15,000.
The one in Indian Ocean. Oh, what is the name?
You're thinking about Reunion Island.
Reunion Island.
No, that's also too close.
Oh, that's also too close.
Think nuclear testing.
Nuclear testing.
At least if my memory serves me right, this was in the 90s. But yeah.
Nuclear testing. Boy, no, I have no idea. No.
Okay, so I'll give it to you. It is the French Polynesia.
I was gonna say French Polynesia. Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, but they have nuclear testing history. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the French did underwater nuclear tests in somewhere in the Pacific. I think it's in French Polynesia. They did do underwater nuclear testing in the 1990s. I remember seeing it on BBC when I was a kid. But yeah, so this particular flight was from Tahiti, which is in French Polynesia, French overseas country. And normally, this flight would have had a stopover at Los Angeles International Airport.
Okay.
So that would make it an international flight, right? Because it goes from a French overseas territory to Los Angeles and from Los Angeles to Paris. However, because of the restrictions imposed by the United States on international flights due to COVID-19,
They had to
they
fly direct.
decided to operate the flight non-stop, flying a plane load of passengers direct to Paris. So technically, it's a domestic flight.
I love that.
Okay.
This is a great question. Though you said that this was because the US had imposed
Yes.
restrictions,
US
not
imposed
because France
restrictions.
had imposed any restrictions.
No, no. The US imposed restrictions,
Okay.
so they couldn't land in the Los Angeles without going through a big rigmarole. So they had to. So instead of hopping from Tahiti to LA to Paris, they had to go straight from Tahiti to Paris.
Right, right,
If you're in first class, I think that would be a great flight. But if not, whoa! Just imagine 15 hours in economy.
right. Oh boy. Yeah. And I recently went to the Paris airport. It is not exactly the best in the world. It is functional, but it is something about European airports that you go there and you don't expect it to be just functional. That's the vibe I got. Nothing bad about it. It is working. It's fine, but somehow just functional. And after having been to grand airports, it's like, okay, this is slightly underwhelming. Like I didn't expect to land in Paris and just be in an industrial looking sort of building.
There is this thing called Paris syndrome.
The Japanese.
Yeah, experienced by mostly Japanese people who have this romanticized and fantastical view of Paris, and they're so disappointed by Paris itself that they go into depression.
The Japanese embassy has a hotline for these tourists, apparently. So,
Now, I
because so
wonder
many.
what is it about Japan that makes them, so susceptible to something like this in Paris.
True. If anything, Japan is the kind of place where you go. But to be fair, Japan lives up to the hype. I've been there once. You go there and you're built it up in your head as like, oh, this exotic place, and it truly is this amazing, amazing culture that you just cannot describe and you have to experience. So I get that. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's your turn to deliver the last question of this episode.
Yeah, last question. So I had option between two questions. I'm gonna save the other one for next episode. I'm choosing this one just because it is such a fun question.
Okay.
So there is a Twitter account which follows only 11 people. Follows only 11 other accounts rather. Do you know immediately which Twitter account I'm talking about? Because you do have
I
a
do.
smile.
I do. I think it follows
Okay.
11 people called Herb.
All right. Okay. Let me just then complete this because you already know the answer. There are 11 accounts being followed. Five of these are the former members of the group called Spice Girls,
Ah,
and
okay,
there
yeah.
are six men named Herb. And these 11 accounts, as I think Vineet already knows, I'll let you do the honors, Vineet. You want to tell us which Twitter account this is?
This would be the official Twitter account for the KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Exactly. KFC, the Twitter account, follows X account, I guess now, follows only 11 other accounts. And those are the 11 herbs and spices, the five Spice Girls and six guys named Herb. And this was, for some reason, somebody randomly realized this in 2017. And that person was rewarded by KFC. That they're rewarded by KFC when they discovered this. They were given 52 $5 gift cards, which is around whatever $260.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Interestingly, somebody else also had the opinion that they gave 52 gift cards because the franchisee started in 1952. So that could
Ah,
be a reason why they gave 52 gift cards. Though to be
Inception.
though it was only $5, so that's not a big amount. But still, it is free money. Yeah. And that is my last question.
That was a great question. And before Aditya comes to us with his quote unquote question for this week, let me bring out the audience question that I had asked at the beginning of the episode. The question was, Mark Twain wrote about X. It is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. Identify X. Aditya, do you have any answers, any ideas, any guesses?
No, this sounds very interesting, and I have absolutely no clue. Never even heard of anything which would fit the description. Mark Twain came up with X? Is that how you described it?
No, he wrote about, he's describing X.
Oh, he wrote about X. So is it a real world object,
Yes, it's a real,
phenomenon,
it's a
person?
real world. Let's just put it this way: it's a real world place. It's a real place. He's talking about a place and describing it as being older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together.
Hmm. I'm gonna just randomly take a guess. This is the Himalayas.
Oh, you're very close. I would say, give it another guess.
Okay. Uh, is it a specific mountain or
Not a mountain. I would say it's a city.
ah city? Banaras?
Yes, it is about Banaras, also known currently as
Varanasi.
Varanasi in India, one of
Yeah.
the oldest inhabited cities in the world. And Mark Twain wrote about it as being older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looking twice as old as all of them put together. An apt description if there ever was one. So, Aditya, your question for this week?
Of course, the much awaited question of the week would be, you mentioned the lovely records on Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, which someday might be discovered by another intelligent species out there in the cold, dark universe. And I feel there was one thing that we missed out on that we should have put on it that would have been truly a representation of who we are as a species. And what is that one thing that we missed out on putting on Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 to represent us? That is something I'll answer next week.
That you heard that here first. That's all for this episode. Thank you all for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast, leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. We'd also love to hear from you. Feedback, suggestions, trivia. You can reach us on Instagram at @RUQuizzingMe. If you're listening to us on Spotify, there's a question underneath which says, "What do you think about this episode?" Be brutally frank. It'll just help us improve. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Aditya will be back after the musical sting with our fact check. Thanks again for tuning in and have a great day from me.
See you guys next week. And here's the fact check for the episode. Kate and Leopold is the 2001 film starring Meg Ryan and Hugh Jackman, and it features time travel and the Brooklyn Bridge. Topsy the elephant was electrocuted publicly after becoming aggressive due to her maltreatment. However, there is no conclusive proof that Edison did this as part of the War of the Currents, which had been settled in favor of alternating current many years prior. But during the war, Edison had tried to discredit AC to his preferred mode of direct current DC by publicly electrocuting stray dogs and cats. A million seconds is 12 days, a billion seconds is 31 years, 8 months. The term Dominion has not been used in Canada to refer to the country since the 1950s. It is now considered a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. The BBC reported in 2006 that the Japanese embassy has a 24-hour hotline for Japanese tourists affected by the Paris syndrome. However, the embassy has stated that no such hotline exists. And that's all for the fact check.